See How They Run, feature debut of director Tom George, starring Sam Rockwell, Saoirse Ronan and Adrien Brody. It's a classic period whodunit, which even goes meta to the point of referencing the works of Agatha Christie directly as plot points and plot mechanisms, and then even including Christie herself as a character in the film. The whole thing takes place in 1953 London. One of Christie's plays is called The Mousetrap. It's celebrating its 100th performance on the stage of one of the city's theatres. There's a big party to celebrate, attended by all the stars, people involved in the production, the theatre manager, as well as some people involved in the planned movie adaptation, the director, the screenwriter and the producer. Before the night is over, one of those people is murdered, which brings to the scene a grumpy inspector, played by Sam Rockwell, together with an over-enthusiastic young constable played by Saoirse Ronan, and together they try to solve the case. So it's very much a love letter to the genre of murder mysteries. It lifts many of the existing and well-known elements, but it also is very meta in the way that it comments on them and comments on itself using them. It uses the story within the story mechanism and winks at the audience a couple of times, including even a fourth wall break ending. Now, on paper, it's got everything it needs. A great cast, well-constructed script, cool setting, an interesting choice of tone, which skirts the line between a more serious detective story and a quirky comedy a la Wes Anderson. However, somehow, it's a case of the whole being less than the sum of its parts. There was something strangely missing from the film, that little spark of greatness that would make me enjoy it and want to recommend it to others. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. I did pick up a few things which I didn't enjoy, and those would be Sam Rockwell's performance. As strange as it seems, because he is a terrific actor, and he actually does a great job with the character he is given. Gruff, quiet, resigned. He is supposed to be that way. But his energy does bring down many of the scenes he's in, especially contrasted with the fantastic, quirky and lively performances from Ronan and Brody. I did think one of the significant plot points in Act 2 is strangely written, and the way the movie jumps then into the third act is rather sudden and weird. I also think that some of the direction, or maybe editing, I'm not sure, does the movie a disservice, where it sort of leaves pauses after certain jokes, as if waiting for the audience to catch up, literally leaving room for laughs. Whereas the type of humor used, I think, is more suited to be just, rapidly done and moved on to the next line, which makes it funnier. Just go on, next joke, next thing. Think of things like Casablanca. The dialogue there, especially in the first half, just doesn't let you breathe. You either keep up with it and spot all the jokes and the funny stuff, or are left behind. And that's what makes it seem so great and intelligent. But this film sort of staggers in certain scenes, and I think it feels very awkward. And then as the sort of last complaint, I think that the movie thinks it's more clever than it actually is, especially with the storyboard scene, which I don't want to spoil, but how that plays into Act 3, I thought it was immediately predictable and just way too obvious and self-satisfied. It could be much subtler. Now, I don't think any of these flaws on its own should be enough to prevent the film from actually being good. And I would even risk saying maybe even all of them combined still shouldn't stand in the way as much. And yet, the finished product just isn't all that great. It's kind of meandering with weird shifts of energy between scenes, some strange editing and direction choices, and overall just being a disappointing surprise, because it's a movie that by all accounts should be very fun, but somehow just isn't.